We'll move to item 8, the Capital Project Performance Report. Ruth, welcome to the table. Thanks for the report. Thank you for joining us. And clearly there's an ongoing narrative here around COVID-related cost escalations, supply chain issues, leading into some conversation about commercial viability and possible substitutions as well, which is all made clear in the report. So if there's anything that you're wanting to particularly draw attention to, that would be great. And obviously you've got heads of service available as well for any presentation and questions too. So over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So this is the Capital Performance Report to the end of October. I'll just address a couple of the queries that we had last committee. We'll follow on from them a little bit more later as well, as particularly in reference to the supply chain risks and issues. So we had a query around cost escalations in relation to whether it might be better for us to defer some of the projects that are encountering significant cost escalations. So Jane did answer that query at last committee, just noting that a joined up approach would be required from central and local government in relation to deferring full programs of work. However, we are addressing that issue as much as we can more proactively within our means internally. So we're commencing a work stream to assess the commercial viability of continuing projects that are experiencing these cost escalation issues versus the risk, the condition of an asset, for example. So what we will be doing is considering progressing projects that are not obviously subject to cost escalation, continuing projects in the planning and design phases, again, ensuring that we have that rolling program of work and construction when they are ready to go, they're ready for it. And we're applying the principle of substitution. So as you know, when our projects suffer delays or have issues, we continue at a program level to essentially deliver against the program level budget. So we agree at the beginning of the year what that program level budget is. Projects move in and out of that program to ensure that we can continue to deliver against our commitment to that overall budget. So that will also apply for projects that are experiencing cost escalation. We'll have that substitution principle. So in all cases, we'll provide visibility of the significant substitutions that we make, and that will be in this report. So there'll be a general update on supply chain risks and issues very shortly. The other query that we have in this committee is around Kiwi Rail. Just an update on that this is continuing to progress positively. We're having more frequent governance meetings with Kiwi Rail and are tracking the required outcomes. So Lynette will be up shortly, and if you have any more specific questions about that, you can ask Lynette. In terms of our current forecast to the end of 2021 financial year, similar forecast to last month. We're currently projecting a 392 million spend against a 418 core program, which would mean that we end up with a 94% delivery. So the forecast below budget at present is mainly representative of the Three Waters program and also that delayed construction start for Hornby Library, which you're all very familiar with. The good news is that Hornby Library is now progressing with piling having started Monday. Mark and Alistair will speak very shortly to their programs. So before we get to the individual programs and bring our heads of service up, there's just a few all of capital comments that I want to make. Firstly, with Covert Impacts, these are the ones from our recent lockdown in August. There's been no change from last month. I mentioned to you that we are expecting 63 variations out of the 110 projects that we had mobilised. To date, we've received 43 of those claims, and we've now finalised 34. So that's an additional 12 from what you saw last month. At the moment, to reassure you, those additional costs are not going to impact project budget. They can be absorbed within the contingency that we've got on projects. We don't have full visibility yet, so that may change, but it's good news so far. And we will continue to provide you visibility as we start to finalise these claims. Secondly, supply chain risks and issues. You see this monthly. There hasn't been a whole heap of change from what you saw last month. We are continuing to mitigate these risks as much as possible, and the teams are doing a really good job at being able to do that. So last month you had Jane O'Toole here to speak to you about it. Jane is actually acting head of HR at the moment, and this is Rebecca Smith, who is our acting head of procurement, and so Rebecca will provide us an update now.
Thank you. Morning. As Ruth said, there hasn't been much change from the report that was presented last month. The main risks remain the same, with shipping costs, lead times and congestion at the ports. and labour shortages. There are some early indications that global supply logjams are going to start to ease a little bit with international shipping and container pricing indexes starting to decrease a bit as well. Delivery lead times are still getting longer, showing that its worst reading ever was in October, and shortages are expected to intensify through to the end of 2021. Just to confirm, the main mitigation, as mentioned last month, we're procuring early to prevent delays and try and achieve cost certainty. We are providing program visibility to our contractors so they can be prepared, more prepared. We're including options for alternative materials, and our design process is starting to consider the lead times in the materials. Communication with our suppliers and joint strategic planning options around delivery and materials, and encouraging our suppliers to consider the supply chain risks and mitigation at tender so we can get on top of things early.
All right, thank you. How do you want to deal with questions? Do you want to take questions on each area as we go? So, yeah, are there any questions on those supply chain and cost escalation COVID-related issues that we can put now? Yanni?
I mean, I guess I'm just interested in like what we're doing to use more local, New Zealand produced products. So if you take like the big belly bins, like, we're told there's only one supplier and they have to come from Singapore, but we've got a university, we've got, an engineering school. Are there things that we're looking at to try and look at manufacturing locally? Are we talking to like the local manufacturers association?
So local supply is always a consideration with any tender. Of course, there's lots of other bits and pieces that go into that. If we can source locally, we will always source locally.
Right. I guess I'm just interested if there's critical things that we need that are coming from overseas, what our ability is to look at getting them produced and manufactured locally. Like, how proactive can we be in that space with, the university or with other people?
I'll have to go back and look at that and talk to the procurement managers and see what they're doing in that area and come back to you.
Yeah, I would assume, given that we're looking at mitigations for these risks, we would be looking at all options to mitigate.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Further questions? Jimmy? This is just on the...
just on item. But this item 8.
Yeah, so this is just on, for the moment, though, the cost escalation, the procurement and the supply chain issues.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So but this information is pretty good. But only concern, how about the delivery date? Also in here or not? I don't know. For instance, like the major cycle rule, section 2, from Queven to the...
Okay, so let's leave that one for when we've got Lynette in front of us. That would be the time to ask that question on transport.
So now?
No.
Oh.
Okay,
the other one. Okay.
What we're going to do, Jimmy, is bring each of the heads of service up
that
that Three Waters questions can be asked, the transport questions can be, and so on.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So we'll come back to you on that.
Okay.
Nothing else? That's great. Okay. Thanks very much indeed. So Ruth, on to the next page.
So I'll bring the heads of service up now to talk around deliverability of their units, including any risks that they're experiencing over and above the supply chain. So the deliverability commentary you'll find in your report from pages 37 to 52. Just a keynote on accuracy of forecasting. Last month it was 95%. We're still at 95%, which is really good. However, as you can see, there's some big months to come. So let's bring Lynette down first. So they're currently forecasting 166 against a budget of 144. Sorry. It's all right.
We are going to do that. After my last once of saying, no, we're not going to, we can't answer it. Look, month on month I sit here and I think I say the same thing, but we are very confident in our delivery profile because of the fact that we've got a huge amount of our program early in our LTP cycle in contract, and that's not actually usual. So we've got a lot of large contracts that are running well and running successfully. So that's why we're comfortable with our delivery profile.
Great. Yeah, it's certainly good to see, a long list of projects that are scheduled for early delivery, and obviously growth projects that we're prioritising in response to developer investment and fast-moving projects there as well.
The
Good to see.
the early delivery is in a large factor of that is the deliverability review that we put across projects at the time of the LTP that you asked us to do. So we took a realistic view. They've gone better than expected, so we are able to deliver them ahead of the schedule that we anticipated at that time.
So the commentary on the reseals program, about 20% of the program has only recently been confirmed. Are there some timing issues there? I mean, has that been affected by COVID in some way, or it just seems as if there's a bit of a timing and sequencing problem there?
No, we usually run about an 80-20 rule. So there is a bit of, if you run that 80-20 rule, 80% of the program is up and running and going. All of a sudden, Three Waters will have something that they have to bring forward, so we need to do a shuffle. So there's usually shuffling in the program. The team are working really closely. We still have improvements to do in how we schedule and advise the work notices to our contractors. We're working on that. We've got a new maintenance manager starting early in the new year to take over from Mark, and they're working on those systems and processes at the moment to get them up and running smoother. So our maintenance contracts over the last 5 years have taken a step up each year in performance. We're working on what the next big step is for those programs.
All right, that's
But
great.
I'm comfortable that they're going. They could be better, but they're going okay, and they've got 80% of what they need to get going quite early in the year.
Yeah, and noting that the level of risk has dropped as well, which is good to see that called out in the report. Great.
And we have only just started our sealing season, so we're only in the first month of that. So.
All right, thank you. Now, Jimmy, you had a transport-related question.
Only on page 53, regarding the major route. South Express, the route, section 2, Craven Street to the Buchanan. This page, and also compared to the page 88, the forecast delivery date is an inconsistency difference. This page, on page 53, the delivery date will be on the November 23. But page 88, delivery date will be December 22. So which one is correct? One is page 53, the section 2, Craven Street to the Buchanan. It's November 23. But page 88,
I don't know.
same section,
I'll have to
December
come
22,
back
which one?
and confirm. We're due to do an update on the cycleways and the Hornby projects out to the Hornby board, so I'll get that done before Christmas.
Because I think the consistent date is very important. Otherwise, it almost 1 year the gap. Just
So let's get some
I apologise,
clarification.
yeah.
We can be given
I
that
can't
further update.
clarify that.
Yep.
off the top of my head.
okay. Thank you. Second one is regarding to on page 59, the Horseway Junction Road extension. My understanding, staff do your best. Try to have a meeting with the Kiwi Rail. But now all the forecast delivery date will be in June 23. So whether this consider the information feedback from the Kiwi Rail.
Yes,
So
it has.
forecasting here.
Yes, it has.
Okay, I just want to know. Yes. Okay. Third one is multicultural the center. Because we
That's not transport, Jimmy.
this one
So
not
when we get into
okay,
community
okay.
facilities.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Let me.
We have that one.
Nothing else on transport?
Okay. That's it.
All right. So when
Okay.
we get to
Yeah,
vertical,
yeah.
I'll
Okay.
come to you as well.
Thank
That's
you.
fine. Thank you. Phil.
Thanks, Lynette. Hey, how hard would it be to give me a list of what we're proposing to asphalt smooth in the next 2 or 3 months?
You've had that list through the board.
Yeah, no, for the whole, what
I
roads?
can provide the council with all of the the list that's gone to all of the boards.
Of smoothing,
No, of asphalt surfacing.
right? Because we put in the budget that we were going to put more money into smoothing, which is fine, which I'm more than happy with. Which ones are going to? I just want to know which roads in the next month or two are in the pipeline for smoothing.
Well, it's all of the resurfacing program is on. You want to know what the treatment is as opposed to what the resurfacing is. Well, that depends on the road and what we're doing. So we've got more on budget for asphalt roads.
Smoothing.
We've got more on budget for asphalt roads. We've got more on budget for chip seal roads. We are looking to get out there and ensure that every time we go out, we improve the ride quality. However, it needs to be done to improve it. If that's a rip and remake, we do a rip and remake. If it's a road that's appropriate for us to do some pre-seal repairs where we put a smoothing layer over it, we'll do that. But we're going to do the right treatment to end up with a better ride quality at the end of it. So all of our resurfacing program will be having the same
Lens.
over it. That's the right term, thanks.
And the new Mark, did you say next year?
Just after Christmas, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go.
All right, so Phil, that answers the question. You got what you need there? Yep, great. All right, any further questions for Lynette on transport? All right, Lynette, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Ruth, back to you.
Yeah. Mark, in terms of Three Waters, so they're currently forecasting 170 against a budget of 202.
Thank you.
everybody. So, yes, in terms of challenges we've got facing Three Waters, we've already signalled that we're stretched to achieve our overall budget this financial year. Our focus is on FY23 particularly, and being ready to deliver on that particular year. That said, we want to try and improve as much and spend as much of the budget this year as possible. We're currently resourcing to improve our situation. We've got a number of positions internally which we're backfilling, interviewing for, and we had a ELT approval recently for additional staff to help us meet that Forward Works programme. So right now we're frantically trying to secure those resources. It's a challenging market out there, as you can imagine. There's not a lot of people around of the calibre we need to do the work. So, but we're confident at this stage. So.
All right, so that's clearly one of the biggest challenges that you're facing. I mean, would you get to a point, if you're not able to find the resources that you need, where you would be contracting in project by project on a shorter term basis?
There are opportunities to how we may have to explore in a bit more detail, but they come with some risk. You know, we could outsource some aspects of the work which we do internally, but like I said, there are definite risks there, which I'd rather not go down those tracks at this stage. And then, of course, if you bring in external resource into for what's particularly planning type roles, you lose that IP if they move on, or if after the contracted period ends. So it's not good for the longer term business.
Yep, sure. All right. I think it's fair to say this is something that we'll be interested in over the upcoming versions of this report, so over the next few months. So if you can continue to highlight either whether that risk is remaining or getting worse, or certainly if you're finding things easing, that's something that we'd be interested in as well. So if that can continue to be called out, that would be good.
Yep, sure.
Thank you. So moving to questions, Sam.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. It's a good report. So, I mean, I really like what you guys are doing in terms of the resourcing and the like to ensure we can deliver it. With all of those changes happening now, at what point during next year do you think you'll be in a position to say whether those changes have helped? So, I mean, I guess the example would be if you're recruiting for staff at the moment and you go, actually, we can't get as many as we want. At what point does that trigger reforecasting for the remainder of the year, but then obviously the next year?
Yeah, good question. As I said, the focus is on FY23 really, particularly. The resources which we've been approved to
to recruit or around the planning phase to feed that long-term plan, the delivery of the capital programme. So they're the areas where we're really stretched right now. And if we get those resources before our level of service target date, which is March, effectively, to have our projects for FY23 all drawn down and briefed, then we're on a good footing, effectively, to deliver on FY23. Now, that's from an internal planning resource. We would still have to supplement that with contracted or additional PM resource for the delivery.
Right, so we'd kind of get to, say, the end of March, and we'd have a good feel for if everything you've tried to do to change it is going to work.
Yes,
and
effectively, if we've hit the level of service target, which we have it organisationally in March, then that will tell you straight away whether or not we're on a good, good
cool.
track.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else on Three Waters? Yanni?
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the smart water sensors. Like, obviously, we know there's a delay in getting them, and there's quite a long lead-in time. And my understanding is we're only doing a small amount to trial them. So is there any consideration of either doing a quicker trial and ordering more, or looking at how we're procuring around that?
Okay, so are you referring to the water meters, particularly, Yanni?
It's the smart water systems.
Right. There's a number of threads to that particular piece of work, so I'm not really sure which way the specific delays may be there, but there's the test, obviously, the trials of the Rafiti zone. They're trying a number of different smarts in that zone. Water meters being one of the items of equipment which we're procuring.
It's just on page, sorry, I'll just be more specific. It's on page 74. And it's the WS smart water monitoring system 62350.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's, as Ruth just pointed out, it is just a risk to the programme delivery. I wouldn't say it's been highlighted as a concern at this stage to me directly regarding.
Just, I mean, in simple terms, when are we likely to see a smart meter, a smart water monitoring system in place on the ground where we can look at its effectiveness?
I'll have to come back to you with the timeframes for the project, but there's a number of threads, but you can look at it one lens for one aspect, but really what we want to see is all of those different components come together in that package of work, to really evaluate the true benefit of that before we seek.
All right, so if you can come back to us outside of this meeting with that would be good. Thank you. Any further questions on Three Waters and waste? Nothing further? All right, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So next is Capital Delivery Community.
Darren. Current forecast of 34 against a budget of 35.
Good morning. Continued high level of confidence and delivery around that target. We've got some big projects on site at the moment with a significant cash flow coming through. You will have seen the bridge work going on in the Otakaro Open River Corridor and the associated landing as well. So there's several $1 million tied up in there, which is coming through in invoicing. Similarly, completing the work at Naval Point, multi-million dollars worth of invoices coming through there. And soon to be doing quite a bit of work through the Rec and Sport program. So vigilance across that entire portfolio and continued confidence in delivery.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Darryl on these projects? All right. Thank you very much.
Major facilities, Alistair.
Yes, boss.
Hello. Current forecast of 35 against 41.
So I think in particular, it's as Ruth stated, to see Hornby break ground is an enormous milestone for us, and it's also brings to light the issues that you face with those forward ordering of materials and the impacts that they have on programs of work. So again, just to back what Ruth mentioned and also what Rebecca mentioned around early procurement models to procure early methodologies, they're all being investigated to accelerate programs of work. And to that matter, both the risks around COVID impacts themselves, but also the risks around procurement of early materials and program issues have probably been highlighted through all risk registers across the portfolio. So it just sort of starts to highlight to everybody, and we bring it and raise it as a matter of attention at every PCG control group and every steering group and at every board meeting. So a lot of work around risk management and risk workshops at the minute to maintain productivity. And in doing so, it allows us to work better and have better methodologies to manage the programs that we've got to deliver. So that's the current oversight of everything that we've got within the program at the moment.
All right, great, thank you. Now, Sam and I had the opportunity to have a look through the old Municipal Chambers building earlier this week, and there are some photos on my Facebook page which are pretty impressive, actually. I was amazed at the quantum of work that's going on there and the size of that project. So really just reporting back on that, my take on it was it's a far bigger project than we might have ever imagined. The quantum of work going on there is massive. So that's Old Municipal Chambers. Now, Jimmy, you had a question on Multicultural Recreation and Community Centre.
Alistair.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if that's true, because you, regarding the budget, you particularly emphasize bring back to the financial year 22, for $3 million. But original forecast delivery date in June 21. But current forecast date, you still know any the kind of forecast date. I just want to know, you bring back, it means you can get a more kind of information like a certainty, so you can forecast why still uncertain, no forecast delivery date.
The MCRC issue is around the sale and purchase agreement with the netball organisation.
Yes.
And it's about the funding stream that we've got to allow them to build the Netzel Centre at Napunawai.
Yes.
So the bring back is to meet the needs of their budget, because they're currently in construction. So they're progressing their build. So the Netzel are progressing their build on Napunawai.
Yes.
And they need that funding. And that's why the money was brought back, because it's part and parcel of the sale and purchase agreement,
Okay.
which is 2.5 million. So the MCRC going forward is still a work in progress, but it doesn't require finances. It's about the sale of the netball centre to achieve the delivery of the Netzel Centre.
Okay.
If I've dropped enough netballs and Netzels in that conversation, I apologise, but that's the way it is at the minute. It's a project that's underway. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
All right,
But,
so...
one more. Okay.
Yep, sure.
Okay.
Yep.
But you mentioned earlier regarding Hornby Library. Thank you so much, staff. Done a great job. At least, Monday have a formal construction, those steel pipe. But regarding the budget, because you particular the carry forward from 22, 18 million to following year 11.3 million, so 6.7 million. Let's consider those delay the delivery, particularly for the steel pipe. Am I right?
Yeah, it's the delivery. It's the start on site. So
Yes.
the start on site is a milestone date.
Yeah.
It occurred this week. Informally occurred this week. We did try to mitigate that by, if you remember, we had HEB Construction down there doing all the pre-start works or the groundworks that were required
Yes.
to establish the rig on site.
Yes.
So we have mitigated as much as we can time delays, and we also wanted to protect council and council's costs with regard to starting on site with the main contractor early.
Yes.
So we literally ran a gauntlet of steel being landing in Timaru,
Yes.
and Naylor Love commencing on site. So we've done that. We've managed that. We're now got a model where we're actually delivering the project. We've started on groundworks, which means that we'll start to reevaluate our cash flow forecast with the contractor now that they've commenced.
Yes.
So that will change over time. Over multiple year projects, we usually fluctuate somewhat because of delivery phases.
Yes.
So we'll be working with their QSs and our QSs now to establish a clear forecast over the next few years of delivery. So it may fluctuate again,
Yes.
but at the minute that's our current best guess on cost burn rate, cash burn rate.
Okay, but regarding the implication between this budget and also the delivery date, but you still date, at the moment you still commit in the February 2023. Am I right?
I'd have to confirm the
Yeah,
date.
yeah,
But
that's right,
it is later because of the delay. So
Yeah, but in 23 financial year, your budget actually carry forward is $6.7 million.
yeah, so it'll be continued payments as we go through the process. So again, I can confirm that at the next update, which will be the full major facilities elected member update, and I can confirm that for you at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
Great, thank you very much. Phil and then Aaron. Phil.
Yeah, thanks, Alistair. Just this isn't a big project, but I understand you're the head Shirang on the Estuary Edge. Is that right? Could you just give me a wee update on where that's at, please?
Yeah, so South Shore Erosion Control Project is we basically looked at we took it on board from an overview of it was 3 projects in one, and we wanted to put a program view over the top of it, and we collated and gathered and collaborated with our members across council to sort of pull the information together. We've now got a process running. We've got Jacobs running with the concept design and taking that through, and then taking that through into a consultation phase. So the intention is, yes, I'm not the head honcho on that particular project, as you say, Phil, but we do have an appointed PM resource now that's working on that project and is driving the project team to deliver the outcomes that we're trying to make.
So that's off getting designed.
Yeah,
right,
it's underway now. It's underway right now. We had our first PCG last week, so control group last week.
Great, thank you. Aaron.
Now, Alistair, it might not be your question to answer, and you've got that face that you just had with Phil, which is, oh no, what's he asking now? But Parakiori, the question we had around the hydroslide accessibility for people with disability, have we got an answer yet?
Yeah, we have. It was. I have seen it. The response back from Craig Hutchins. It was for me. I think we did some minor edits, and that was going to come through to the council secretariat to be issued out to you and to the rest of the councillors as a response in the answer to the questions that you raised, which was I think about 3 points at one of the last finance performance meetings. I can't remember the exact content though.
But there's something coming to us in writing.
There is, yeah, and it is done. Honestly, it's done, and I know that Mark Noonan did the final edit, which is not unusual for Mark. He likes to dot the T's.
All right, so let's get the communication out.
Yep.
So that we've got the answer.
I'll follow up straight after.
Thank you.
So when will we find out?
I'll get it issued today, so it'll come through. So you should probably see the email today.
And is it still in time to instigate something?
No.
So it's going to.
But it gives you the reasoning why. It gives you all the reasons why.
So it will be a non-inclusive facility.
Hello. So sorry, Aaron, it's sitting with me. I had one more question that I wanted to clarify before I provided the advice through. So in terms of you will get it in terms of the next 2 days. There was one question that I had that I needed to clarify before I sent it out. So it's sitting with me to release to come back to you for the advice.
So let's wait for that information to come out rather than speculating on what that might be or asking staff to answer questions
I think they know.
Yet know the answers to. That'll come out to us in the next couple of days.
Yep. You look happy, so it's going to be inclusive?
Let's wait for the information to come out.
Conclusive answer.
Yanni.
Yeah, thanks. Just on the Metro Sports, Parakiori. So I see our opening date is still showing 2022, December 2022. Is that correct?
No, it will be later. There's no doubt.
So when are we able to get a new revised date?
Might as well let Nigel answer the question.
In terms of what you've got in terms of the report that's coming through from Alistair and his team is the construction timeframes that have been reported from CPB via Otakaro. In terms of what Otakaro provided in terms of the likely opening date is Q1 2023. So there's a difference between what's forecasting to make sure the construction date is correct based on what CPB and Otakaro are providing, but we're forecasting the public opening date will be Q1 2023.
Right, okay. And just the advice that Aaron's talking about, does that include also the parents' room request?
Yes.
Oh, great, thank you.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you. Anything else for Alistair? All right, great. Alistair, thanks very much indeed. So moving on to the next one, which is parks, is that right?
Yep, Andrew.
Andrew, welcome to the table. Thanks for joining us.
So parks have a current forecast of 10.8 against a budget 10.6.
Kia ora. Yes, we're on forecast at the moment, which is good. We're always going to caveat, I guess, our final result against what happens in autumn in terms of weather.
I don't know if you can recall back last autumn, but it was extremely dry, and our planting program probably got about halved of what we would normally predict. So we don't have that crystal ball, but everything else outside of plantings is on track at the moment. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions on parks, Celeste?
Just following up on an earlier conversation we had, would it be possible to add the coastal estuary edge erosion projects that have been bundled together to the capital watch list, given that there's quite high community interest in that, and I'm aware that the community have some, strong interest in some having visibility to that, so something that we could do.
So generally would revisit the watch list once a year. Our criteria is that it's of significant size or of public interest, which this project is. We could add it to the future watch list from now. We just have to make that decision here today, essentially. Noting that the project is in very early phases, so you wouldn't see a lot of information in the watch list probably, within the next year as we progress through design and early planning.
But it would meet the criteria
It
for
does
the
meet
watch
the
list
criteria,
project?
yep.
Yeah. I mean, is there a point at which you'd recommend we put it on the watch list, or would the right thing to do if we want it to be a watch list project to do that now?
We generally look to projects that are going to be delivered within that financial year, but there are projects there in the earlier phases because they have that significant public interest. So it's really a decision that we can make here today, and I could put it on for future months.
All right. So the way to do that would be by adding an additional resolution to add that project to the watch list today. Yep. All right. So Celeste, are you indicating that you want to add something to the resolution that does that?
Thank you.
All right. Great. So if we can add some wording, that's fine.
Andrew, I'll second.
All right. That's great. So when we get there, then I'll take the resolution as moved by Celeste with that addition and seconded by Tim. That's fine. Thank you. Are there any further questions on parks? All right. That's great. Andrew, thanks very much. So now moving to IT.
Oh, IT's not here today.
IT's not here today.
They're progressing quite well, IT, currently delivering against their forecast and have some key projects in the pipeline for delivery this year.
Okay, that's fine. And then we've got the other down the bottom. There's no commentary on that. No. All right, that's great. So that's covered off all the questions for the various different areas of the business. Are there any other questions that people wanted or needed to ask that haven't yet been asked and answered? All right, great. So how are we going with this recommendation? Agree that the coastal edge pathway, coastal estuary edge project.
Short.
David's just doing it.
Is it just the estuary edge project, isn't it?
I think the three projects have been bundled into one. So you've got Stock Bank, the erosion, and then you've also got the South Brighton Reserve. They're all...
Maybe we should specify all of that in the resolution so that we've got it clear. Andrew, you might have some advice in
the
this
project
regard.
should be referred to as this, the South New Brighton South Shore Estuary Edge Erosion Control. That's essentially...
So that's the wording that we need to pick up in this resolution.
Exactly called in CPMS, sorry. Yeah, it's actually called Red Zone Regeneration South Shore and South New Brighton Estuary Edge Erosion Management. We can probably drop the residential red zone.
Okay. Do the Secretariat need you to say that again?
South Shore and South New Brighton Estuary Edge Erosion Management. South Shore and South New Brighton Estuary Edge Erosion Management.
South Shore and South New Brighton Estuary Edge
Erosion Management.
Project. And that picks up that package of projects that make that bigger project up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right, great. Be added to the council's capital watch list. Capital watch list. And that means that from next month's reporting onwards, we would see reporting on that. But just noting, Ruth, your comments that reporting will be quite slow in the early phases till the project really gets underway.
Yep.
All right, that's great. So, so that's moved by Celeste, seconded by Tim. Is there any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I note that we've got Christchurch NZ already in the room, so